Hello, happy Volunteer Appreciation Week. So there's no better time to bring up Miss Gina Edwards to talk about what is happening at Heart of Illinois United Way. So Gina Edwards is an imaginative connector who leverages marketing expertise to elevate volunteer engagement and strengthen communities. With more than 25 years of nonprofit leadership and experience, she serves as Vice President of Marketing and Community Engagement for Heart of Illinois United Way. In this role, she champions programs for more than 50 local nonprofits, leads workshops, and collaborates to boost volunteerism and emergency response efforts. Gina is certified by the National Council for Certification in Volunteer Administration and serves on the board of directors for the National Association of Leaders in Volunteer Engagement. She specializes in volunteer strategy, corporate engagement, and positioning volunteer professionals as powerful community change agents. So please help me welcome Gina.
I should have told her she didn't have to read all of that. The United Way staff says I make things pretty and tell people where to go. That's the general job title that I have. So I'm not used to standing behind a podium, but we'll give this a try today. So let's see. So first of all, happy National Volunteer Appreciation Week. If there was ever a group to present to this week, it would be Rotary, right? All the service that you do. Thank you so much for all of that. And a shout out to you as well. My dad is a Vietnam veteran, and so I occasionally volunteer for Honor Flight when I have the time. So thank you for your service as well. So thank you so much. So thank you for having me. I know we have a group today that is a mix of nonprofits. Shout out to my nonprofits in the room and for-profits. And some of you are probably retired and looking for ways to volunteer. And so we thought, well, maybe United Way is the person who comes and asks you to give you money on your paycheck every week, right? But we also do have a volunteer program that we run, so that falls under me. So first of all, two things. First of all, I have little cards with me today that will sum up pretty much everything I'm talking about. If you go to the websites that are on these, I brought those with me. Do you want to? Thank you, Ashley. So, and secondly, everything that I'm talking about today actually has its own presentation. So for you, for your organizations, for your companies, if you ever want more information about any of these things that I'm talking about today, there are full presentations for all of them. So first of all, Online Volunteer Center. I shouldn't ask this. How many have you been on volunteer.hunitedway.org? Have you heard of it? What? My nonprofits in the room? Okay, good. Okay. So this is what, we've had this for 9 years now. This is our Online Volunteer Center. I have been in United Way forever. It's been over 20 years. When I first started United Way, I did primarily, and I still do, corporate and employee volunteer engagement. But we really wanted to give our nonprofit partners and really try to expand what we're doing to give them more opportunity to have volunteers year-round, for them to recruit on their own, not just always going through us. And so that's where the Online Volunteer Center comes in. We have more than 50 nonprofit partners that are on there. We are always willing to welcome more. It's a great way for you to go in. You can browse those nonprofit partners, reach out to them directly. And of course, at any given time, we have hundreds and hundreds of opportunities posted on there as well, so you can respond as an individual or team. So it's a great way to figure out how to get engaged in the community. If you ever want to learn more, there's also opportunities for you, even as a club or organization or as your company, to have user groups, team management for different volunteer teams. So if you ever want to know more about any of that, I'm more than willing to share that with you, but there's a lot of great features that go on behind the scenes. One of the things we're doing new this year is that, I think it's towards the end of my presentation anyway, is that we're trying to reach out more with our corporate volunteer council and provide some more of these types of trainings about the volunteer resume and about the user groups and those features to our companies in the area as well. We started that in January, we have another coming up in May here. So Online Volunteer Center, that's that card, this double-sided I gave you, that's the first place you can go. The other thing we have is Activate for Disasters. I don't know why I started this program, because every time it storms now, I get incredibly stressed. But full disclosure, I was involved with the tornado relief several years, over 10 years ago, coming up 13 years ago. And so I saw a lot what happened with the tornado in Washington and trying to be prepared. And so when we had the opportunity to launch Activate for Disasters, the reason we did this was so that we can be more proactive in getting organizations and individuals registered in advance to say, raise your hand, I want to help if there's a disaster. Because one of the things that first happens with disasters is that we all want to help, right? Often we, as emergency management, I all want myself associated with emergency management people. We may not always want you there right at first, right? Because we don't know if it's safe. We don't know what the needs are right away. And so one of the things we're trying to do is be more proactive with this. And about a year ago, I was at a the reason I was happy to talk to you guys today too is that about a year ago I went to a training down in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and there are some Rotary clubs across the country that do disaster preparedness and help with recruiting volunteers. And so if any of you are interested in becoming part of Activate for Disasters, please let me know. But basically what it is twofold, right? We're trying to get people to pre-register and be in the system to be contacted in case of disaster. It's also for us to help support our existing agencies such as Salvation Army and the Red Cross that may already have a need for disaster volunteers that they recruit year-round. Those are specialized volunteers, correct? They have a lot of training. Also, too, we have an MOU or MOA with the Peoria City County Health Department. We're the EMA director, Jason Marks. I love Jason, he's awesome. By the way, if you really want a fun presentation, two of us do this together, and we can talk about all sorts of fun things. But we have a presentation, and the reason we do this is because we have that MOU with them, is that, I just joke, I'm Jason's bouncer, so that when there's groups that show up that may not be ready to go out with their chainsaws yet and go out and clean and stuff like that, they can work with us, and we can direct them, and that's why we're part of the Public Information Officers Group and some other things. So if you guys are interested, there is a way you can, right now we have, I've lost count. I think we're up to either 11 or 1,200 individual volunteers who've raised their hand to be part of Activate for Disasters. But there also is a way for, as a group, if you would like to join as a Rotary Club, there's a way that you can join as a group as well, if anybody's interested. So just let me know. So, and like I said, there's a whole presentation about that. Jason's fun to talk with. I think we both have ADHD though, so it kind of goes off the rails sometimes, so I'm not entirely sure. The labor group loved us, and we came and talked to them a couple weeks ago. So Huddle Up, this is something new. So I know I mentioned earlier that we work with a lot of employee and volunteer groups, and for those of you in the room who are part of our United Way Community Impact Fund, you know how we are about outcomes, right? Basically though, to give you a little feedback, we started Huddle Up in November of 2019, so basically to try to help our group and employee volunteers, large groups, anywhere from 10, 50, 100 people or more. We had a lot of education groups coming in, and we really saw that we needed to have a way to make their volunteerism more meaningful for them, and to try to make sure that they're learning more about their community, learning more about the organization they volunteer with. And so we started Huddle Up and kind of did it as a kind of an on-the-side thing. We present it to our nonprofit partners. And as I was going through this last year, looking at ways we can better engage our corporate and employee volunteers, it came as an epiphany. I'm like, well, we should just use Huddle Up. So what Huddle Up does, and we're actually in the process of rolling this out to our companies and our nonprofits. The companies will have our first training come here in May. We have a presentation for our nonprofits coming up in May as well. And what it does then is it actually puts in a point in your process. So I know like when they come to Epic, you guys give them a tour, you talk about your program. This also asks our nonprofits very easily, and you can do this as a company as well, is spend a little time to huddle up when you're done and talk about what did you learn today? How is this program helping the community? And try to get more towards that outcome part of how we do our volunteer work. And so that's what Huddle Up's about. It has a whole presentation as well if you ever want to know more. I want you guys to know about that because we're trying to really be more thoughtful and more engaging with our volunteers we do. Because sometimes, and I joked about this on a national level, when I used to do back in 2019, I would have go out for our companies. I would send emails out. I mean, Ashley probably saw some of these, and I don't know if Julie did or not back then. I would send emails out going, we have 900 volunteers to place. We have 750 volunteers to place. We have 1,200 volunteers to place. This is in addition to the Day of Caring program that we used to do also. And I'm like, I was running through 3,000 to 5,000 volunteers just within 6 weeks for a long time. And so that's where this process came from. And as we start to rebuild, and at a national level, we start to see more corporate employee volunteerism increasing, we want to make sure we have this in place so that we're doing it in a more thoughtful manner. So that's exciting things to come and Huddle Up as well. So nothing we do, this is probably more for the companies around, but nonprofits, you can do these as well. One of the things we started doing, we actually had a focus group in early 2020, so you can tell that some of these things got put on hold for a little while, right? We're kind of bringing them back again. We are seeing more and more of this on a national level and a local level where more and more organizations are looking for virtual remote opportunities. Things they can do basically not at your nonprofit, but at their own company or within the club, for example, if you had a meeting that you wanted to do. So we started offering those for United Way. We offer them ourselves, and we do a lot of the same, very pared down process of making sure that those things are distributed out to our partner agencies in a very thoughtful manner, but we have companies that sign up to do that. And of course, any of your nonprofits are looking for ideas on how to do virtual remote needs, give us a call. We can help give you a lot of feedback for what we do for ours. So that's a great thing to do as a team building opportunity for your club or for different, within your, say you have people coming in from outside the area for an employee company visit, that's a great way to use those. So now, On the flip side of your cards today, and I'll talk about this in a second, there is something for Skills Link. And I did a social post about a while ago. I'm not usually too personal in my social posts. I'm usually pretty straightforward. I had worked on Skills Link for over all of last year. And what we're trying to do is to get more of our nonprofits and our companies engaged in what's called skills-based volunteering, which is what probably a lot of you do. So, you mentioned in my bio, I volunteer for Alive, and I'm in the marketing chair. When I volunteer, I often do skills-based volunteering. And so it's a way to engage usually individuals, sometimes teams or groups, on a deeper level to help our nonprofits really kind of improve their capacity and what they can do with their organization. However, most volunteer centers, I love our volunteer center software for our full volunteer center, which is the volunteer.hoanyway.org, but most of them lack an ability for you to be able to network and connect with people who have specific skills that can help your organization. None of them, there's Catchroot and Tapify, which are national, but you can't localize them. They don't offer any kind of networking opportunities, so you can actually go in and browse volunteers' profiles and see what skills they have. And we also offer our nonprofits the opportunity to post, you need a consultation for something. Do you need a speaker for something? Do you have a project you need help with? Like, you need a brochure done or something. So that's what we've done with Skills Link. And so Skills Link is free. There's no charge for it. It's skillsvolunteer.hoanyway.org. Basically, you log in, you create a profile. It's kind of like a mini pared down version of LinkedIn without any ads. And so basically then as a nonprofit or as a volunteer, you can browse each other's profiles, reach out to people about volunteering, and also nonprofits can post opportunities and then the volunteers can apply for them. So this is something very unique in this space. That's why we had to build the platform ourselves. But if you're looking for opportunities, and the reason we came up with this, one of the reasons, you guys remember H. Wayne Wilson? He used to work for WTVP. You remember H? I met H in college, knew him for years. He called me up several years ago, and he's like, well, the Illinois News Broadcasters Association is coming into town. I wonder if you can help me with a couple things. So when I usually get asked to volunteer, whether it's my husband asks me to volunteer for something or whatever it is, it's always some marketing thing, which I love marketing, but sometimes you do it for your day job, right, Ashley? And so sometimes it's like, okay, fine. So I figured he's going to ask me to do a flyer or something. No, H came into my office. If you don't know this, H used to live down the street from United Way, so he's in my office a lot. He came to me and says, you know what, I really want a fun and unique menu for the conference. Can you help with that? And that's because H knew I used to teach cooking classes and went to LaCordon Blue School, which sounds fancy. It's not that fancy. And I was so tickled that he knew that about me and asked me to do that as a volunteer thing. So that's where the idea of Skills Link came from. I mean, we have somebody from PNC, has this big financial background, but she's an expert seamstress and loves to make costumes and help with plays and stuff like that. So she's in Skills Link. So it's a great way for you to connect with different people and browse their services. Board Serve. I know some of you have done Board Serve. Yes, Board Serve. So Board Serve is something we've done. Oh my gosh, I can't remember how long we've done Board Serve. But what Board Serve is, it doesn't really fall completely under me. We have a lot of cross-silo stuff with United Way. We're a small staff. But Board Serve basically will train, used to be for young professionals. We've expanded it over the years. Anybody who's interested in serving on a board of directors. We go through the process of governance, best practices. Now it's just I think it's a 2-hour seminar that we do now. And we also, and Julie knows this too, we can also do it for we did it for Foster Village, yes, with Cherise. And so we can also offer it for different individuals and groups. We did this for SEFQ last week, so we've really expanded what we do with Board Serve. So if you are on a board that might like to have a little way to kind of onboard your new board members, or if you're with an organization and some of your team members are like, hey, you might want to serve on a board or committee at a nonprofit, what are some of the best practices? This is a way to get connected with you. And then we'll also forward you over to Skills Link to get started there, and it'll forward you back to the volunteer site, and that's why it's in my slide deck today. So you know why I'm talking about it. Before I finish up here, and I'll give you guys some questions too. I talk really fast, but you know what? You might as well give you back a few extra minutes today. So we have our Corporate Volunteer Council. If you want more information about that, it's on our website. We can give you information for that. That's basically, like you said, we have some training sessions we'll do. I'll bring those up on the last slide here after this. But it's a great way to just kind of learn about best practices around employee volunteerism. We coach a lot of different companies on the process for that and looking at it and how to do some best practices around it. The other thing you can get engaged with as a nonprofit, if you're interested, is our volunteer administrator group. That's free to join. And we have different speakers. We bring in some speakers from outside the area We do those via Zoom, so we have some national speakers we bring in, and we also get together occasionally for like lunch meetings and things like that. So all of that is on our website, so you can see that on the volunteer site if you want to get some more information. Or if maybe you have somebody in your organization that works with volunteers and just wants to do some more networking with other people, send them our way. We'd be happy to connect with them. So that's an easy way. So, and that is really small, so I do not expect you to read that at all, actually. I'm sorry, I usually do this on Zoom so everybody can see it easier. So we have coming up on May 6th, I believe, is our next Corporate Volunteer Council session. That's with our Huddle Up program. And we're going to start, and we'll go through, if you're a company looking to volunteer and trying to figure out where to start, we'll go through some of the more details about our volunteer center itself and the services, how to reach out to our nonprofit organizations. We'll cover that. And then also too in May, it's not on the calendar up here, but the volunteer administrators will have the same thing. We'll have a conversation about Huddle Up and trainings, and we're really looking forward to seeing how that rolls out with our nonprofit partners. Coming up in July is going to be a joint session. Beth Steinhorn is nationally known in the volunteer engagement land. She does a lot of research and presentations about best practices around volunteer engagement. She's going to be, we're going to do a special webinar in July that's for both our volunteer administrators, nonprofits, and for companies. And it's going to be specifically about skills-based volunteering, best practices around cases, how to, as a nonprofit, sometimes it's hard to figure out what can I use skills-based volunteers for. And so that's what we're going to be doing in July. And then, of course, in October, we'll have another in-person presentation. And so we will, in November, do volunteer administrators. So if you're looking to volunteer and you don't have nowhere to go, we can tell you where to go the next one. So once again, Happy National Volunteer Week, or if you're like me, you don't get it all done during Volunteer Week, it then becomes Happy Global Volunteer Month, so you have a few more days to work on it if you don't get it all done this week. So heads up. And by the way, I teach a national class on presenter boot camp for volunteer engagement professionals, and they hate it when I make them do a presentation in 20 minutes. 15. So they're like, we can't get it done in 20 minutes. Yes, you can. So, all right. So anybody have any questions for me?
How does a nonprofit
Yes.
Sign up for this and get on your website?
It's super easy. There's actually an application form that you fill out, and the application form, it will actually save as you work through it. And that you give me your logo, some pictures, some different information. I set the profile up for you, and then you join me. You get to listen to me for an hour on Zoom. No, we do a training on Zoom basically for about, it's like an hour, hour 15, depending on how many questions you guys have. So you join me on Zoom. That way you can walk through and kind of see the different features. I can give you ideas for how Neighborhood House uses it, how Ashley uses it at Epic. I can give you guys ideas for how other nonprofits use the system. And then we also add you then to the volunteer administrator group automatically to be invited to those sessions as well. Super easy, doesn't take any time at all.
So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah. Okay, hi.
She didn't know where you
She couldn't see.
Sorry. I got an ear issue here, so sorry.
So the first time I actually got involved or knew about you is my wife was a manager at Methodist. And for some reason, maybe once I looked at her paycheck and I saw this bottom line for United Way.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, that's a lot of money going there. And she said, well, yeah. She's my second wife, so yeah. So
I love it. Yes, we are the ones that take money out of the paycheck, yes.
So, how did you all begin? I know it's international or national. What started it? So,
that's a good question. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary, and actually we're turning 105 this October for our United Way. Some people refer to us as affiliates. I just say we're like a franchise, which is kind of a bad thing to say. Our local United Way, we were founded in October 18th, 1921. So we've been around. We were funded by a group of skills-based volunteers. That's how we got started, all local. Actually, the house that United Way is in is the family that started United Way. They've been, another branch of them donated a house to us, and we actually have a volunteer today who is a direct descendant of the family that grew up in that house that we live in. We've been in this April 1959. There's a social post coming out that next week for Global Volunteer Month. I didn't get done this week. So we funded. So one of the reasons that our local United Way, a lot of United Ways were started. We had different names over the years: Community Chest, Community Fund, all sorts of different names. Was that it was really hard for nonprofits in that time, because think about the technology. You didn't drive. You didn't have anything we have now. It was very very hard for them to do their own fundraising. And so we were started initially to help them with their fundraising efforts, right? And so we had something called a budget committee. Now, if you look at our budget committee from back in the 20s up through the 40s and 60s and 50s, still changed names, it wasn't a budget for us, it was a budget for all the nonprofits, just like we do our allocation process now through our competitive grant process. We would review all of those nonprofits' budgets and decide, what was the best way to allocate the money. Years ago, several decades ago, we came up with an idea to make sure that it was more around the community assessment that I'm working on right now, the data for our community and where we saw those needs, and that's how we set benchmarks, and then people donate, and then we do our grant process, and that money goes back out to those organizations like Neighborhood House and Epic for what they do. So yeah, it makes it easy to give. You can also designate too. We don't discard that either. So you can give directly to United Way, and that goes through our impact fund process, or you can also designate to a specific nonprofit if you want to. Yeah, good question. Yeah, we've been around for a while now. Okay.
Hi, I'm very glad to put a face to a name because I get your emails.
I know, every time I go places now, I get all your emails, I'm like, sorry. There's been a lot lately.
My Bradley students at Beta Alpha Psi, which is a service organization,
Yes.
participate with
Yes.
and get on the website and
Yes,
sign up.
and you use the Bradley site, correct?
I don't know what they use, to be honest, which
Okay.
is why I would like to connect with you a little more,
Yes.
because, if my students are doing it right, they graduate.
Yes.
And so it's always a rolling pool. So,
Yes. So one of the things I didn't mention earlier is that we are our volunteer portal or hub. We're a hub for our community for the Volunteer Center. And then we have 3 portals attached to us. One is volunteer.bradley.edu. They're attached with us. I used to work more with Bradley, but there's been a lot of changes in the structure of that department, so I kind of on our own now. But yes, so that's where they should be going. If not, I'll track them down. And then we also work with UI College of Medicine, and then we also feed into Serve Illinois, which is part of the state organization. Interesting enough, I'm on a committee with Houston Goodwin. He is the new CEO, founder of Better Impact, which bought out our volunteer portal software. And so I get the luck. I don't know how this happened. I meet with them once a week now. It's kind of cool. We're working on we can streamline to offer more volunteer management systems for our nonprofit partners so they can track more in their end. And then we're also rolling out something called Volunteer Link that allows the Bradley students in the future to hopefully take their volunteer resume with them. And then also companies that use Volunteer Link can have a branded volunteer center just for their organization that we help them manage. So some fun things are coming. I didn't talk about all that, sorry. Any other questions? Everybody's going to go sign up and volunteer now, right? I should have brought like some kind of weird door prize or something so that you guys can bribe me to join Skills Link or something, right? I emailed 6,000 people yesterday, 1 joined. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm going to run out of people to email pretty soon. So,
I got your email yesterday.
Yes, you got my email too, yes. All right, any other questions? Are you good? Everybody's all ready to go volunteer now, right? Yes, all right. Woohoo, all right. Thanks, everybody.